Today on the Eye of Power podcast, we're going to take a little bit of a diversion from what we've been doing. I realized that in over 180 episodes in, I've never really taken the time to explain the model in detail of the Eye of Power, the model that functions as a multi-tool, as a flashlight, as a compass, as a way to connect us with the things that are either going to move us off whatever the impediment it is that's holding us in place. If we want to make some sort of change and we can't, it's a way to get ourselves moving. And it is also a way to identify those things that might be holding us in place. So both those aspects are important. And we'll take a few episodes here to dive into the model in detail. So if such things interest you, stay tuned and we'll get into some geeky stuff about how our brains work. Welcome to the Eye of Power podcast. I'm your host, Tom Dardick. But this podcast is not about me. It's about you and your power. It's time to claim yours. You see the chart behind me? It's there most of my episodes. The iPower model is based on what we call the power grid, our personal power. What can we do in the world? And if you look, there's an axis behind the circles there. There's a vertical axis, which is action versus attitude. So if you think about it, the things that we can control, well, we can control what we do, kind of, and we can control our attitudes about things, kind of. Our actions tend to influence our attitudes, and our attitudes tend to influence our actions. These are the things that we can sort of control. If you've ever made a resolution, like a New Year's resolution, and not kept it, it's clear that we can't always control our actions. And if you've ever been either mad or sad, or you had a reaction that you wish you hadn't had, you realize that it's not easy to completely control our attitude either. So this is a spectrum of what describes our personal power, our agency, our ability to do things. The horizontal axis is whether that effort is going on our own behalf towards ourself inward, or whether it's going outward towards others. So that's society versus self. So some of our actions we take on our own behalf, some actions we take on the behalf of others, some attitudes we have about ourselves, some attitudes we have about other people. The juxtaposition of those two axes gives us four quadrants. And in thinking about this, we notice that there's different dynamics that emerge in each one of the quadrants. Our actions towards ourself has a different sort of dynamic, psychologically speaking, than our attitude towards ourself. Again, these things are related, but it starts to reveal things. Our attitude towards other people, and then our actions towards other people. So each one of these things has different elements that describe what we call our behavior, or the patterns that we have. Each one of them reveals different aspects. Now, you can see the model has basically four rings. There's an inner layer, which we have sort of looking like a pupil. Then we have the iris aspect here, that's the blue part, the quest layer, the traps layer, and then finally the capacities layer. So there's four layers for each of the four quadrants. That gives us 16 different sectors in the model. So that's a pretty complicated model as it relates to comparing most psychological models. There's some that are 16. The Myers-Briggs model comes in mind to me. There's 16 different combinations of four letters in the Myers-Briggs model. That's one that's as complicated as the iPower model. Most are more simple. And we could simplify this down and either combine or sort of absorb layers into each other. But I wanted to make sure that we had the balance between the things that free us versus the things that hold us in place. So for that reason, there's two of the layers are the things that hold us in place or keep us stuck, and the other two are the things that move us and free us. So you can think of sort of a polarity that way. In this episode, we'll get into in depth in the quadrant of what we call the pain quadrant, which is the actions we take on our own behalf. So the actions towards ourself. And it's hard for me to, there we go, self. Actions towards self in the pain quadrant. So every quadrant has these four layers. So the first layer that we think about is what we call the corrosions layer. And the corrosions are those forces that hold us in place. And in the pain quadrant, we use a fancy word for, you might, if you can read the words, you can see that every single one of these corrosion starts with the letter C, just as a kind of a mnemonic trick. But anyway, consternation. And consternation is a kind of fear. It's the kind of fear that you're worried about things. You think of things that might happen. You're just worried about all the various things that could possibly go wrong. And that can keep us from taking action. And the pain of consternation is really the what if game. What if this happens? What if that happens? Or this person might not like what I do, or there might be social risk, or you might risk if you fail in something, you might risk social standing, you might risk the esteem others that you care about hold you in. These are the currencies that are typically used when we're fearful. Our brains, and we talked about this a few weeks back with Ryan Williamson. We have Stone Age brains in a modern world, so we're wired for survival, and we're wired to react in ways that are going to keep us alive. And some of those ways we don't really face too much in today's world. We're not often faced with predators trying to kill us, for instance. And we also aren't faced with being thrown out of the tribe, let's say, if we have some sort of transgression, being thrown out of the tribe or being excluded from the tribe was basically a death sentence and for the vast bulk of human history. So we're very conscious about being accepted, not being ridiculed. These are very strong pain points. I'm reminded of a joke that Jerry Seinfeld made famous where he's quoted the fact that the fear of public speaking is greater than the fear of dying. So he says, so you're telling me at a funeral, most people would rather be the guy in the casket than the guy giving the eulogy. And psychologically speaking, there's actually truth to that. So it's kind of funny how we work. So anyway, let's get into consternation a little bit. Consternation is that little voice that's gonna keep you from taking the action you know you want to take. So it might be stopping some sort of habit you know is bad. Today, the unfortunate thing is most people have a little bit more poundage on their bodies than they'd rather have. And so it'd be a common thing to say, hey, I want to lose some weight. Most people are aware that you're going to be healthier if you don't eat junk food and empty calories and bad things. Yet these types of foods are prevalent everywhere. The default setting, if you go to a party, if you go to a cookout, if you go to, if you're in an office where they bring snacks in, generally speaking, it's not going to be the kind of food that we all know by now is not the best choice for us to eat. They taste good. They give you a short-term burst of dopamine or some sort of satisfaction, but all of us pretty much know better than that. I mean, most people, if they were taking a written exam, they'd basically be able to say, okay, this is better food to eat for you than this is. Yet we fail that exam every day with our choices. This is part of the reason is the pain of change, the pain of not going along or maybe sacrificing something. If you're going to eat healthy food, a lot of times the healthy food is actually more expensive. So that means you're going to have to cut something else in order to afford the more expensive choice for your table. And so that's a sacrifice. So a lot of times we don't think these things through, but that doesn't mean they're not there. Consternation is that voice that keeps us from taking the action. It tells us what if. We tiptoe up to the line. maybe kind of start and then are easily swayed away. And then we never really do make that final definite decision. If you're going to make any sort of positive change, it really is a matter of a final decision. It's no holds barred, no plan B, no going back. This is it. Determination. We do have strong wills when we deploy them, but it's getting to that point. And consternation is that corrosion that erodes our willpower, that keeps us from having our full agency. So we're stuck in the corrosion in the pain quadrant. What are you supposed to do about it? Well, that's where we go to the next layer here, the quest layer. So the quest layer in the pain quadrant asks how. How do I do it? How do I go forward? So here it's a case where you marshal resources. Once you make a definite decision, that's most of the battle, really. Unfortunately, most of the times when we make resolutions, we're kind of play acting at it or trying it on for size. We haven't really made that burn the boats kind of decision. And that's really what's required to make a positive change stick. I often say, and I've said it before on the podcast, habit is a wonderful servant and a tyrannical master. So our habits are part of what we have to get around. So whenever we're looking at the how, we really need to think in terms of habitually, what do we need to do? So as an example, let's just take the food, for instance. If you have snacks and sugary stuff and all the stuff that part of us that wants the immediate gratification or even just the habit that we have is going to win that battle if that food is in the house. So they say that battle is particularly won and lost at the grocery store. So what's in your house? So for instance, if you were going to take a stab at hitting health goals as it relates to your diet, that decision is made when you're shopping. And then also, of course, if you go out a lot, that's another way to perhaps some stuff that you might not otherwise choose. But if you can win the battle at the grocery store when you go when you're not hungry, you go when you've got a plan written out, you have the list that you know you're going to want to do, you have the recipes, you know everything that's going to fit in your particular plan. You go get that stuff and nothing else, and then divest yourself of anything else in the house. That your chances of succeeding in your plan have gone way, way, way up because you're putting a new habit in place rather than the old one. And you can have substitutes. So if you have one particular thing that you love, the new plan might be a little bit of it, not as much as you'd otherwise, or it might be some sort of substitute. So rather than M&Ms, it might be a few raisins. Now, personally speaking, I'm never going to completely give up chocolate. I have for stretches of time. I know I can do it, but life is better with chocolate than without it. So I just try to control how much I eat. But the indication, now this is sort of outside my expertise, but what I hear is that dark chocolate has antioxidants that can be good. So perhaps if you like dark chocolate, perhaps some pieces of dark chocolate and that fills the sweet box, but you only have a few pieces of it. You don't, gorge on it kind of thing. Anyway, the point being is that there's a plan in place. And then the other thing that it goes along with the quest layer is whatever that plan is, you do not want to do it by yourself. You want to make sure that you have a group or advocates or a partner or a buddy or somebody, some other person that's going to allow you to receive feedback and perhaps even give you some accountability. Your chances of going through with your plan go way, way up when you have some help and some people on your side. If you're in a partnership, doing these things together multiplies your chances of success greatly. So I would say that those two things, make a plan, keep a plan, and have a buddy with the plan or a group. Again, referring back to my conversation with Ryan Williamson, he has a group that does this stuff together with very good success. And, he's one of very many. So if you have the means to be able to hire awesome experts in health, people like himself, that's fantastic. If you don't, there's still a path forward. You can do it, but you just need to get some like minds and some people that are rooting for you and aren't going to undermine and feed the old habits, but rather embrace the new. So that's the quest layer. So the quest is always a question. It's always the thing that you're going to go forward. And in the pain quadrant, it's basically how do I do this? It's the plan that I'm going to enact going forward. So we talked about health. It could be anything, any change you want to make. You put together the plan and work the plan, and you don't do it by yourself. Next layer is the traps layer. And traps layer is necessary because nothing just goes according to plan, right? You want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans. And of course, we're also never going to be solid in our motions. There's always going to be things that we discover. We're going to relapse. We're going to miss. We're going to forget something. We're gonna have two steps forward and one step back, or one step forward, two steps back. Progress does not look like a straight line up or even a curved line. It's more like hopefully it's like a stock market ticker where there's good days and bad days, and you just hope that the overall slope is getting better over time. If you keep at it, it will, but you can't let individual setbacks discourage you and allow you to think things such as I'm just not cut out for this, or I can't do that, or I'm not worthy, or I'm just weak, or whatever those sorts of messages that are there. They're not true. And it's just a matter of making sure that you return to plan, return to will, give yourself grace, and keep moving forward. You take the lumps and the bumps. The name for the trap in the pain quadrant is conjecture. It's sort of related to consternation. Consternation is sort of that worry. Conjecture is the mind game that we play where we're trying on different scenarios. So conjecture is like I picture this thing. So I can make excuses and rationales. I can think, well, if I just do this or if I just do that, I might want to take a shortcut, or I don't have to do it this year, or this is not the right time because of all these other things. I give myself some excuses because, well, I have too much going on over here, so I can't do this other thing that I know is good. This is a trap that we fall into pretty much every day. It's something that we really need to, if we're going to maximize our agency and our power, we really need to get good at recognizing our conjectures, the traps that hold us in place, because we can get stuck in those for quite some time. The way that we get past this is you keep the main thing the main thing. And you need to be able to keep that clarity. And this is, again, why it's a very good idea to have help and not just sort of go it alone, and because our mind does play tricks on us. And it's kind of a sad thing, but the more creative you are, the smarter you are, the more resources you have, the intelligence aspect of things can actually work against you. So this is why some of the smartest people can do some of the stupidest things. So intelligence is a nice thing to have for sure, but it's not a golden ticket. You still have to know how to use it. And in the trap of conjecture is one of the places where where people's intelligence can actually go against them. Again, be aligned with people that want the best for you and that know your plan and are rooting for you on that plan and are there to help pull you through and not let you just sit in those traps. That's the key thing. The final layer is the capacities layer. This is the sort of the virtues that we want to develop so that if you're going to be of high character, if you're going to be a person that people respect, that everybody respects, that people can count on, that people feel like they know, that people feel like you stand for something, and that you can really be admired, you need to cultivate virtue. And in the pain quadrant, the virtue is courage. Courage, we talk about that often, but courage is a funny thing because a lot of people think of courageous people as being fearless. It's not true, or at least it's not the starting point. Because courage is a muscle. Courage is something that you use and it grows and it develops. You don't need courage if you're not afraid. If you're not afraid of something, you'll just do it and there's no problem. Courage comes in handy when you are afraid of something and you know you need to do the right thing anyway. That's where the virtue of courage comes in. As a matter of fact, all virtues require courage. Honesty and courage are the two foundational ingredients to virtue. And so all great people that are universally respected and admired have courage and honesty. those two ingredients are a requirement. So in the I Power model, we identify courage. We try to see how we can strengthen it, how we can build that muscle in a continual way. And it's nice. It's a nice thing. It's sort of like getting in shape, where the more you use it, the more you stretch it out, the more you lean into overcoming things that might otherwise hold you in place, the easier it is the next time you need to do it. And so you can get on a positive feedback loop there. And that's what we try to do, again, together. You don't want to do this by yourself. You need other people through all the phases of not only the pain quadrant, but any of these quadrants. We can't see our own blind spots. And we do a lot better in the context of having help with other people. So in the pain quadrant, the capacity that we're developing throughout is courage. So that means we're identifying the things we'd rather not do, or we know we should do, but we're kind of fearful about doing them, and then we figure out a way to do them anyway. And that builds the courage muscle. So that'll do it for this episode of the Eye of Power. The next episode, we'll take on the perception quadrant. After that, we'll do the people quadrant, and finally the purpose quadrant. Together, again, they make a total map of how we either gain or lose our personal power, our agency. And my hope for you is that you're continually building your agency, continually building your personal power to make sure that you are the most fully expressed version of you, because that's what the world needs. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
This has been the Eye of Power podcast with Tom Dardick. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd also like to thank my brother, Scott Dardick, for the music and his music production. If you'd like to reach me, simply email Tom at dardickcommunications.com.